please welcome to the stage Rob van der Meer, partner at Capricorn Partners, and his panelists. Thank you.
Thanks for having us here. My esteemed panelists are walking up the stage here. They'll do a little bit larger intro themselves, but I'll explain the composition of this panel. Gérald from Evoco. They make soles for shoes from renewable materials, of course. In the market, very interesting. Strategy of making a product. Don't go for perfection, but make sure you make progress and get customers. So if you think then I have smelly feet, after these soles, then you come to AFYREN. They make a molecule, butyric acid, that makes smelly feet. Do you sell it for that? Or? I don't think so, but it shows my science understanding here. AFYREN, IPO, scale up, starting up the plant now. Very interesting journey. And then the guy that finances that, well, not AFYREN, but other big deals in the market, not from a banking perspective, but an investment perspective. Mark Weustink, I had to tell that by him.
No.
The bank is not always about debt, it's also about investment. And Mark is actually the bridge between those two areas. I have a slide clicker, yes. So it's the talk is about bumpy cobblestone road or smooth asphalt. Well, you can guess which one it is. I won't give away that secret. The scale-up is an interesting process in the chemicals industry. It's in the biotech industry. And in some industries, like the software and hardware equipment, it's a lot different kind of process. In the chemicals and bio industry, you have the challenge of both scaling up heat and mass transfer at the same time in an environment where you try to go bigger. But in the renewable world, that's not always the best way, as we found out. So you need dollars for that. You need to get there. And I've put 3 questions to the panel, so they can be prepared. That's one. That's the homework that they got. Not watching soccer games last night, as some other people did. Right, Norbert? So, the 3 questions, you can read them here. The biggest obstacle, from your perspective, so not what do you think the industry thinks, no, you. Looking back, what do you do differently? You know, what's your, well, I wouldn't say your biggest regret, but maybe your best learning out of the 12, 24 months. And what's the one thing you want to give away to the audience that they ought to do? All right. You guys do a quick intro. Gérald?
Thanks, Rob. Hi, everyone. My name is Gérald Alvoët. I'm new to this industry, exciting industry, but I come from the CPG space. For some reason, I haven't worked with plant-based chemistry, but I've worked with plants all my life. Worked in alcohol beverage that's made with plants. I worked in cannabis that's obviously made with plants. Nicotine made with plants. So I said, let's try materials made with plants. And from a consumer perspective and market perspective, that's quite challenging today. So I'm working on this for Evoco, a material innovation company that has strong traction in footwear, where we make componentry for a variety of global brands in multiple segments. But we leverage high levels of bio content to demonstrate tangible levels of decarbonation and detoxifications in a variety of materials like biofoams, bio-TPUs, and bio-lasers from a waterborne PU dispersion. We are currently raising money in our Series B round to accelerate our expansion. We are launching new material technologies to get into new vertical and product lines.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Mark?
I'll take next. My name is Mark Weustink. Since 2019, responsible or taking initiative on sustainable investments. As the words say, we do everything what's basically not bank financing. We're not a fund, so we can do anything from junior debt all the way up to equity. I do this for different assets. I can do venture capital. Ideally, it was set up for scale-ups and more mature businesses, growth capital. That said, I think I have a team of 8 people. It's also a mix of engineers as well as finance people. If you ask them in their heart, they would like to do always venture capital. I have done venture capital. I'm learning the hard way. But fortunately, I also do something like the bigger gigafactories and H2 green steels. And I would like to share a little bit of my experiences, which I think maybe could help you guys to see if you need capital in the future for a plant or facility to think about.
Thanks, Rob. I'm Nicolas Sordet, the CEO of co-founder of AFYREN. We have developed a technology 12 years ago to convert byproducts from the sugar industry into bio-based molecules that are usually produced by the petrochemical company. During our journey, we have met typical scale up from lab to our new plant now that is almost at the end of the up and running phase to be able to produce in continuous way different molecules, organic carboxylic acids that are sold to different kind of application from the cosmetic, the pharma, the food, the feeds, but also chemical industry. Overall, we have made 2 big rounds in 2018 and also in 2021 where we became listed, so a public company. And we are now 125 people in the company, and we have 3 sites in France with the idea to expand our production capacity abroad.
All right, thanks. Well, then Nicolas, I'll leave the floor to you to go to the first question on getting your financing done. You've done an IPO.
Yes.
Which is, of course, easy, right?
Very easy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, next.
Smooth.
All right.
Okay. I have 2 obstacles, to be honest. The first one is the time frame, what you want to promise to the financing on the funds, but also what you're going to have to achieve. It's always delayed. And so you want to be transparent and cautious. But if you are too cautious, then the time frame could be too long for the funds. So this is the first one. And the second one is the adequation between the needs of financing when you want to scale up your company and build up a plant, but also with the request of the fund, VC funds or private equity funds, on dichotomy between what they expected and what they can invest.
Okay. Mark, on the other side of the table, if a guy like Nicolas comes to you with that time frame, what do you think?
No, I think what helps me to assess and also would like to give back is you need to put the cap from the other side on. So it could be if you're an off-taker. I think a lot of people, when they want to build a facility, of course, you have basically various parties. So you have the company, you have its investors, you have the external financiers, which is seeking to get money to build the plant. And of course, hopefully, when you build the plant, you can sell the product. And also the guy who needs to build it, he also is a party in this. And this triangle or multiple angles, everybody has its own interest. And you need to ensure that how I try to get myself more comfortable is put the cap from the other side on it to see what would I do the same if I would be in his shoes, and would I find it acceptable? And if you take, for example, my colleagues on the finance side, you as a party probably say, I'm going to build a factory, and don't be difficult, give me yielding instruments because else it's too expensive. But if you put his cap on, he says, you know, I get only a limited amount of return for maybe taking a bit more risk. And he could also deploy the money maybe at a big corporate. So you need to find a way how you can share the risk and the reward. I think for the brand owners or the people who take the offtake, of course, they want to be innovative and sell their products. On the other hand, it's a new product, so I understand their position as well. So they will probably say, you know, you first need to see if the material works. You know, if the same quality works on pilot as at large scale. And now you can't ask the company to say, you know, build a facility for 100 million, and then we'll sit around the table and see if we're going to give you offtake. So this balancing of games of interest and risk, I think it's a very subtle game, and you need for each of the party to find the right balance. And personally, I'm a big believer that the party who can best take certain risks should take it. although some parties will not take it. For example, ideally, of course, you want to build a company for a fixed price, lump sum price, and also that it works. So you dial your contractor and say, can you build me a facility? And I put X in and I want Y out. Can you do this for a fixed price and make sure? Now let's assume you have a civil engineering contractor. He will say, I know how to build concrete. I can do the steel. I can do whatever you like. But I'm not a chemical engineer. I don't know how these processes work. So also, he will not take that risk. Now, all these kind of aspects are probably, maybe for some of you, it's all very familiar. You think, what's new to this? I think by trying to get all these people to the table, it can work. What also can help, and then I'll stop and give the floor to you, is I think there are a lot of instruments out there, and what I've seen in the bigger projects which did work is, for example, there are a lot of grants, funds, subsidies, and also I think an element which sometimes younger companies forget to see is the ECA cover. That's called export financing. And what I see a lot back in the really big gigafactories, gigaplants around the world, all the steel, that they try to get some cover. So the financiers get more comfortable. That's the guys on the junior side. I don't know if it answers a bit the questions. I don't know. Maybe I'll give the floor to you.
The audience will be the judge of that, Mark. Yeah. Whether you're going to get some requests after this meeting or not. Gérald, Evoco had a bit of a different approach, I think.
Yes, for Evoco, the main challenge was really to get a strong vision alignment amongst the key stakeholders of our syndicate. Sometimes it's easy to have a strong vision statement that you'll put through your marketing team out there, but really aligning on the strong long-term vision of what you want to achieve, that can shift pretty fast when in the early stage you're pivoting quite a lot. So we have a bit of an unconventional path, if there is a conventional path or linear path, because we created the business by amalgamating two businesses, and one had cash flow already, but was in a completely different industry, somewhat industry, another control technology when we were making materials, which was great to focus on R&D. And our stakeholders, our investors at the time were really revenue focused, which is great because it pushed us to have a backward integration approach and go open our own manufacturing in Asia to build our products to service the footwear industry and the componentries we're making in the form of insole and midsole for an array of global brands. So that really challenged us to go really, really fast with a CapEx light model, because we rely on tool manufacturer on the chemistry side. And we were able to open that factory in Vietnam and in China really quickly. The challenge to that is then we got labeled as an insole manufacturer, and funny enough, that's how you introduced me here, when really the vision for us is to drive disruption in material innovation and make a true material difference by bringing a high level of bio-content that can demonstrate effectively decarbonation and detoxification in the space. So refocusing ourselves on that vision was critical for us to then find the next member of our syndicate, which is a circular innovation fund, so really focused on this idea of natural circularity, the circularity of carbon, more than focused on end market applications, and fundamentally thinking about this principle of progress over perfection. How do we get in market fast with something we know the market can buy today, how imperfect it is, because yes, it's 70% bio-content, it's not 100% bio-content, but it can be supported with certification and demonstration through an LCA of strong decarbonation. So this vision alignment, if we didn't take that time, and we could do that again because of revenues and because of some great grants that came on our side, we would never have been able to engage with this great new member of our syndicate.
Well, you made my heart melt when you said CapEx light. You know, that's so a different model where I like this whole thing about going to market with a non 100% bio-based product to get into that, and And I also learned a new way how to sell shoe soles, how to describe them differently. But I thought from the company it was a very good a way to get into the market, to get to know, and then pivot to your next application from that with all the learnings you've got. Talking about the learnings, I asked the panelists to look at 1-2 years back, and knowing what you know today, what's the one thing? So only one, okay? The one thing that you would really think about doing very, very differently today. Mark.
Yeah, I thought a little bit about it. I think now we started off a couple of years ago, and we did let's say 4 to 5 venture deals. And I think initially we really focused on the cost element and the capex and the scaling. And I think if I look back, where I would have focused more on is actually the whole revenue component of the business. For some reason, you see the number in your Excel or whatever. You do a couple of calls and you think, maybe 2 months delay, maybe 3 months. You do some scenario planning, but actually getting, especially if it's a pre-revenue company, getting revenues in. I deeply respect entrepreneurs who try to go out with a new innovative product and try to convince their brand owners or the people who are going to take the offtake to take that leap of faith. And it's not easy on both sides of the fence. And I think with hindsight, if I would have focused a bit more on that and do deeper revenue analysis on how likely is that product going to be sold. You can make it, but are people actually going to buy it? I think on the other elements, I got more comfortable. Of course, it's always going to be more expensive if you build something, the capex. It's always going to take longer, but that you can control, or you could put additional capital against it. But what do you do if the revenues are not generated? Sometimes you need to take a pivot, and those kind of aspects, I think.
Okay,
that's my view.
On my side, I think it will be more on the organization point of view when you start up your plant. We are talking a lot about financing. We were very focused on capex cost, trying to minimize the capex, because you just said it, it's always more expensive when you build up, which was not the case. Maybe thanks to the COVID, where we had probably a good opportunity for sourcing materials and everything cheaper. So we've managed it, and we were very focused on the construction, and maybe a little bit less on the startup of the plant. Organization, people, expertise during that period, which is, by the way, changing very often and very quickly from the project when you build up your plant and the startup. And we've decided to hire operational team very early to make sure they can get used to the plant, make sure they can understand how it is organized, the structure, how it works. But actually, I think I will separate, if I have to do it again, the startup, using a startup team dedicated to that period with a different mindset, compared with the operation team, which is more cautious, as is get used to operate a plant but not start up the plant. And I think it could be also, because we are sometimes and generally very focused about the capex, but all that period of time when you are not producing, you are burning cash, and sometimes it's more expensive than just higher capex than what you expected.
Yeah, startup, especially when it's the first time. That's quite a different operation. And
for the management and the team, on the organization also altogether.
But for you as a CEO, you had to make that transition yourself too. How did you feel about that?
You have to accept that sometimes you are making mistakes.
Okay.
That's the first point.
None of your board is in the audience. So.
Yeah. No, you need to be in. You need to be focused. You need to understand what's going on, and you need to act when you think it's not good enough and take the decision. Which sometimes you want to give more time, but each month costs you some money. So that's you learn from that.
Gérald?
Well, of course, I think we all want to go faster, right? Get things done faster. But as I described earlier, we don't really have a linear path to, raising funds. And I can't really think of one single decision amongst circumstances and all these factors that will really have altered, Evoco's position today. We did learn two important things, though, is because we went so fast into servicing an industry and working with footwear brand partners, we understood it at the development phase of the value chain, but we didn't have this executive intelligence through big global corporations. So one thing we did is add into the board with an independent director that was VP of Product Sustainability at Nike. That really shifted the perception of the board on that front. And now, as we're looking to move into our Series B raise, we're doing a lot of things in Asia, right? We have a factory in Vietnam. We have a partner in China. We're looking at more connections from a chemistry side. We're opening door there. So for now, really, this is now the time for us to find a CVC that can come in and open those doors, make those connections as the resources to take it to the next level. So of course, again, we like to have done that much faster, but each phase its own learnings and ways to adapt to it.
Okay. Before I go to the next question, is there a question from the audience? Or am I going against protocol? At the end. Okay. So after this question, you get a chance to get questions, okay? I'm not allowed to change here, so very directive English director. All right, guys, then it's all guys, I assume. So what's the one suggestion that that you have for the audience on what and to whom in the whole process of financing scale-up? So your financiers from the capital side, from the equity side, from the debt side, your customers, your other parties in the syndicate, your engineering company. What's the one thing, and to whom do you want to tell that, Gérald?
The one thing is to get comfortable with imperfection. And my vantage point really is advanced material innovation in the consumer durable goods space. And the reason why we need to embrace imperfection in sustainable innovation is because we've seen a bit of a hype phase on material innovation where everybody still has this software of thinking, of coming as marketer and marketing a technology in the marketplace that solve a problem in a very black and white manner, right? I have a market, I have a problem, I come and I solve it and I package it and sell it to the market as the perfect solution. And obviously in the past sustainability, we all realize that that doesn't exist. So we have those companies that raise hundreds of millions of dollars and that we need in the ecosystem to succeed. The problem is that there's challenges in scalability, and part of that is starting from a level of perfection from a biocontent perspective. You start 100%, and then you start from that base. Our approach was to say we'll be imperfect, and someone mentioned this morning early in the opening conference that 90% of consumers are ready to pay a premium for if they know a product is bio-based. I challenge anyone to go in the streets right now and ask 10 people what's a bio-based product. Nobody knows what a bio-based product is. Is it wood? Is it cotton? Is it the products we are making? We don't know. But the reality is that what consumers expect and citizens expect is authenticity, which is next level of sustainability. It doesn't matter how you market yourself as sustainable. It's assessing your material impact and showcasing your journey you are taking to improve upon this. So again, back to this vision that we center ourselves on. It's making a material difference, which is obviously a play on word on making different material, but a difference that can be material, substantial, demonstrated, verifiable, not perfect, but that can be, driving significant value on the path of sustainability that we're all on.
All right, Gérald, thank you. Comfort from imperfection. That's probably the best relation advice you can get here today. Nicolas.
For a company, young company who wants to make this scale up, one advice would be is to CEO, but also to the funds or boards, be overfinanced at the beginning. Think about I mean, what you're going to have to face during, it's not only the CapEx, as I said, it's always also all these ramp-up phase, where if you don't have the good finance and structure and you don't have enough money, you will make by choice. You will put a lot of pressure and tension into the team. So you need to think about not only having extra capex, but also extra time to make sure you can go to the commercial point and don't consume cash anymore. I think this is the game, the key for a young company.
Okay, Mark.
Yeah, I concur that ultimately there's certain imperfection which we need to embrace. I think it would be good if what I discussed before, that all the parties, before they put their points to the table, sit down together and just say, what do I want and what kind of risks are there and how are we going to share those risks? And that each party then listens to the other from what type of risk do you want to take? And I cannot take this risk, or I can take this risk, and also explain and what you expect from each of the parties. I think it's like saying in life, a lot can happen with just listening to each other, what you want to achieve. And of course, sometimes you cannot agree because you have different standpoints and viewpoints. But just it starts with listening, and then you always end up with a part of imperfection, which also for the financiers and the investors, we need to embrace. And also sometimes as a company, you need to embrace that you're not perfect either. And the brand owners also need to embrace that maybe the product initially, it's not like exactly what you were wishing for, but still you make stuff happen. And I think ultimately that's the goal, what we're trying to seek as a society. Sounds a bit taggy, but...
I'll shut up here and I'll leave it to the audience. If there's there's a question here.
Just a question on offtake.
There's a microphone coming.
Thanks. Yeah, just a quick question on offtake agreements. Are there features in an offtake agreement that make it more bankable? Are there elements to those contracts that you're really looking for that really improve the credit or the investment quality of an early stage startup that's approaching a first of a kind facility?
Yeah, now, first of all, again, I'm not the financier, but I have experienced one of these large projects, like we're in H2 Green Steel and Northvolt. They're like $1 billion project financing. And what we see, of course, the banks always start out, I want full offtake. I'm not going to put 5 billion on the table, and then we open the shop and there's no offtake. But ultimately, there's also a reality check that the offtakers say, I'm not going to put tens of billions each year of offtake commitment, not knowing if the product's going to work. So what I saw and what you see in these bigger ones, that they sometimes first have a demo plant, whereby they do these projects, like the OEMs, they did their sampling A, B, C. You go to stage gate, and then in the meantime, you negotiate. They invest in the shareholder structure. On the structuring side, I think what the banks are generally seeking, what helps is, again, this ACA cover, because it reduces their exposure. And ultimately, they don't need the whole plant to be sold. And it's also from an equity perspective, if you sell the whole plant, you make the bankers happy, but you don't make your shareholders happy. So you need to find this fine balance. And I think, general, what we've seen in the market is that you structure a certain amount of offtake. I think it lies around 60-70% of the capacity. Of course, with a ramp-up schedule in place of 1 to 2 years. And then you ensure that you have a certain timeout on a management case and a bank case. I'm almost sounding like a financier, but and of course these offtakes. I think let's take the cap again of the banker. I think he can accept that if the project, he's together with much other bankers, he has a job, he gets salary, he gets paid, and he needs to justify why he made several hundred available to a plant or whatever. I think he can justify if he has a good structure. But ultimately the project fails because the product, he did his utmost to create a good product. He did a good stages thing to get the facility in place. And if it doesn't work, he can justify it. If he goes to credit committee and says, I did a whole deal, it was all spot, sorry, it didn't work out because the off-takers walked. Yeah, he has a different issue. So it's also about not selling illusions, but to make sure that it's all acceptable while everybody knows there's residual risk, what I said. Sorry, maybe I'm going too long.
It's okay. It's so 60-70%, not all taken, price somewhat fixed.
Yeah, and pricing is probably, volume is more important than pricing. Pricing we can flex, maybe tag to the supply on the materials. Sorry.
Now, Nicolas, when you guys went to the IPO, how far
I
did you
think,
get on this?
we have signed long-term contracts on off-take contracts before.
Yeah.
I don't think without that we would have been able to finance the plant, which was around 60, 70 million.
Okay.
So,
All right. So,
same other.
is there another question from the audience? If not, I'm going to make Paul happy by rounding off slightly ahead of schedule. So, no? Okay, then thank you all for listening in this hot, brewy, almost fermentation-like environment. Thank you for my panel members for thinking about the questions ahead of time and answering them crisply enough for the audience to take something home, whether it's business or relationship advice. Thank you.